Hey everybody, Jerry Jones, co-owner, Manager Cruise Tallahassee, Craig McMillan, the other co-owner, Manager Cruise Tallahassee, and today's topic is a dandy. It's called the recruiting process, but moreover, what happens when the recruiter calls? What do I do? My head spins and I go home wondering what they got, and I wonder if it's going to be right for me, and your life gets turned upside down. So we're here to try to break down some of that stigma today and talk about some do's and don'ts and hopefully simplify this so the anxiety goes away and now you're in charge of this recruiting process so you can make a good decision.
So when the recruiter calls, you're the professional, you're the candidate, the recruiter calls, we encourage you to build rapport with your recruiter. You want to obviously break the ice, be nice, but then you want to qualify your recruiter to make sure that recruiter is going to be a good recruiter for you, and you don't want to waste your time working with a recruiter that isn't going to be a good recruiter for you, quite frankly. So there are a series of questions you can ask that recruiter to make sure that person is going to be good for you. Questions like, what industry do you specialize in? So you want to make sure that you're working with a recruiter that specializes in your space. They're going to have more connections. They're going to be able to collaborate with you in a better way. You guys are going to be able to talk shop talk, and it's just going to make sense. So when they call, don't just know that you can qualify them like they qualify you.
Oh, absolutely. A couple things. First off, when I talk to candidates, the call goes much better when they know I've placed multiple people inside an organization. When that happens, all of a sudden I'm validating what's happening. I know the organization intimately. I know what you're going to be walking into and what you're going to be up for. But I encourage you to ask these questions when a recruiter calls you. One, how long have you been recruiting? It's a good start. Some people are brand new into recruiting. Others have been in it for 25 years and 30 years like Craig and I. But how long have you been recruiting? How many people have you placed in this organization, in this company? What is your specialty, like Craig said? If your specialty is X and they're over here in Y, why is that going on, right? So probe it. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. And then also, Craig's 100% right. You got to build trust with the person that you're speaking to. But more importantly, I think it's career suicide if you don't take the recruiter's call and at least talk to the recruiter to decide if it makes sense or not. Because to me, you just never know when that next gem of an opportunity comes along that you may have missed because you did a bonehead. You decided not to take the call. You weren't interested. And to me, that's just career suicide.
Exactly. So over the years, it's not the norm. Most professionals are open to taking calls from recruiters and having dialogue with recruiters. Every now and then you'll run into a professional that says, hey, I've got a good job here. I've been here 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is. I really don't need a recruiter. Don't think like that. You never know when you're going to need a recruiter. I've seen professionals working at companies 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden their company was sold and they're on the outside looking in. They've been laid off and they go, oh, I should have talked to that recruiter. So it's always good to talk to a recruiter, share your expectations with them, and just be open-minded to it. Always be progressive and willing to talk to a recruiter and listen just in case. Keep that insurance in your back pocket.
Exactly. So an old axiom that I go by, you keep your doctor, your lawyer, your banker, and your recruiter your best friends because one day you're going to need one. And if you've got that in your wallet or in your files of go-to people, you will be just fine. Because I can tell you some of the best executives I know, and I know some really good ones, all keep a relationship open with recruiters because they want to hear about the next best cutting-edge opportunities, and that's how you progress your career and you grow your career and you don't become stagnant.
Exactly. Now let's talk about what are the stages, the stages of a recruiting process for a client. So you're a professional, you're a candidate, you've picked your recruiter that you're going to work with. We've talked about breaking the ice with a recruiter. When you get that call, what happens? And let's talk about the recruiting process on the client side. So we, the recruiter, have performed an intake call with the client. So we've had most cases, it's 45 minutes to an hour, getting a good understanding of why the position's open, who the position reports to, are there direct reports, what are the titles of the direct reports. We've talked about the compensation range. We've talked about the bonus percentage, what the bonus is based on. We've talked about who's going to make the hiring decision. We ask the person we're having the intake call with to explain the interviewing team. That's a very vital part of the process. So the intake call is very vital for us as recruiters to have that recipe so that we can go out, engage the marketplace, and make sure we're bringing the client the right fits. Inside of that intake call is company information. So we want to get company information. We want to get their value proposition, their sizzle, if you will. What's attractive about your company that's going to want to make John over here join your company. So the intake call number 1 is important. And then step 2 in the client side or company side of the recruiting process is we as recruiters go out and identify a finite talent pool that we're going to engage with to see if they're, number 1, interested, 2, if they fit, and 3, will they interview with the client, accept the right offer, turn in their resignation without entertaining or accepting a counteroffer from their current employer and joining this client. So that's the steps of the recruiting process on the client side. Jerry, talk about the steps on the candidate side.
Well, a couple of things. First, going back to the company for a minute.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times companies aren't succinct with what they want. They think they know what they want, but they don't know what they want, and they really don't learn it until they start seeing candidates. 6 out of 10 times we do a search, we bring exactly what they're telling us, and when we bring it to them, that's not what we want.
Yeah.
Because they weren't thorough enough to really think it through about really what it looks like, or really fully understand the marketplace and really what it brings to them. So that's critically important as you go through this exercise.
Right.
From the candidate side of things, you need to understand what you're walking up for, what you're signing up for, and where you're going through. And your recruiter should be leading with you through that, holding your hand through this entire process. There are recruiters out there, and I've heard these stories. I don't know any of them who would do it. But there are stories out there that I've heard unanimously where people their resumes are sent out and they don't even know it, who the company is. The recruiters ask them just to take the interview. And at the last minute, they're getting this interview and they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants. And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't go well. If the recruiter isn't holding your hand through this process, talking about the company, sharing job information, job descriptions with you, talking about benefits, talking about why it's open, talking about the culture, talking about what the opportunities for growth are, then push in the clutch, take it out of gear, and slow down and figure out if this makes sense or not. Do not be misrepresented in this process, because you could come out damaged in this in the end of number 1, the investment of your time and your life and the stress of going through a change. And on top of that, no success out of that. It can be hurtful and it's hard. And sometimes people don't get over it as easy as they do. So be extra careful. The other piece is when you're going through this interview process, the recruiter should be able to talk about all those hiring authorities you're going to be meeting. If you can't talk about the people that you're meeting and you don't have a sense of who's who and who's what,
Exactly.
then the recruiter isn't really being thorough enough for you and you might struggle a little bit. And then the last component is really up to you, the candidate. You've got to do your research. Any search I do, research materials go out, profiles, company links, attachments, benefit information, everything you need to be successful. Because if you can do that, then you're following that 5P principle again.
Yeah.
Prior planning prevents poor performance. If you just do that, you can win just about anything you want.
And advice, what's advice I would give to a professional or candidate looking for a career change? I would say make sure you're making the move for the right reasons. If you're disgruntled with your employer for the wrong reasons and you're out looking to make a move because of that, that could be career suicide. Be careful with that. So really research and talk about with your spouse and your family why you want to make a change.
Think long and hard.
Think long and hard.
Think long and hard.
Exactly. The
Don't
grass
make
is
a
not
snap
always
decision.
green. Yeah.
You got that right. How many grass is not greener as we've experienced? I wish I had a nickel for everyone I've heard. So just be extra careful. Be smart about your career. Career management is everything. You're a working professional. You didn't work this hard to get to where you're at for some recruiter to be chasing you only to make sure that you run in with a flat tire. You just don't want to do it. So be smart about what you do.
Exactly. And be careful if you're just looking for more money. More money is important. We get it. It's our medium of exchange. We're in a capitalistic society. We know that the almighty dollar is important to make ends meet, but be careful in making a change just for more money, because there's more to life than just money.
If it's money, I'm not interested in candidate, because you're not interested in opportunity and growth. You're interested in a few dollars, then stop, time out, go back to your person you report to and say, look, I'd like to sit down and talk about an opportunity to earn more here. And here's my value. This is what I'm bringing. Here's the data. Support it with metrics, right? KPIs. We're all so KPI driven these days. Bring your KPIs to the table and say, this is why I'm worth more. Now, if you can't get it and you're ready to make a change, that's another story and another day. But if it's just money and that's all you're interested in, I'm not interested.
Exactly. Recruiters really frown on, or quite frankly become spooked, if we feel like the person's strictly interested in more money. Clients see it as a flight risk. We're going to hire John and he's going to leave us in a year, maybe less than a year, just for more money. So it's very vital and important that you double check your reasons for leaving, and think about the money thing. We're putting a lot of importance on money, and I want to share something with you very, very important. So you're talking to a recruiter, you've decided to entertain an opportunity via that recruiter. That recruiter sends you out on an interview. The client that you've interviewed with loves you. They want to make you an offer. They've made you an offer. Now you're back in at your current employer, you're turning in your resignation. And all along, your intent was to use this other opportunity to get your employer to make you a better offer. That is not the way you do it. That is another topic for another day. But you don't want to threaten your current employer with leaving to get what you want.
That's weak, man.
That's weak.
That's weak.
That's weak.
That's bonehead.
That's bonehead.
Career suicide.
Exactly. Now, that's about all the information we have in reference to the recruiting process, engaging with recruiters. Obviously, if we come up with more good information, we're going to share it with you in upcoming videos. Don't forget, you guys, go to MrRecruiter.com to learn more about our service offering, and you guys have a great one.